All of us saw Star Wars, came back, Elise sent a message to me, because she doesn't care. She's insane. She's a crazy person. And she said, tell me everything. And I'm like, don't you have your tickets to go see this on Thursday? She's like, yes, I don't care. And I was like, oh my God.
True Sith.
So I was like, well, I have stuff to do. I got a message from her that said, meet me in this other room to tell me everything about Star Wars.
What was
and
this room?
our multicam room.
Okay.
So that way it wasn't, no one else would be disrupted by her desire for everything.
Except she put it in a Slack channel and said, @channel. Only James and I are in that channel with Elise. So it was.
And well, then I went over there. The door was closed, and I could hear Adam and her talking in there. And then when I went in, she was like, tell me everything about the movie. I just was like, I don't know, she's insane.
A similar tale.
She's a crazy person.
My work spouse, John Smith, messaged me, and he said, tell me everything.
Did he really?
Yeah, he's like, spoil the movie for me. I don't care, just tell me.
Wow, I didn't expect that from John.
It felt weird to
should watch movies together.
Yeah. I think you should hire like a dominatrix to do this for you, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Step on me.
Spoil Star Wars for me.
Step all over me.
Harder.
I've been bad.
Hey, welcome to Funhaus, everybody. This week, I've got my friends Jacob, Adam, and James.
Hello.
Hi. So I'm trying not to spoil anything.
My name's Daniel. So this week we're going to talk about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This week's episode is sponsored by Manscaped and Feels, and we're going to try and, as best we can, be spoiler-free for the first few minutes of this podcast for the people out there that might want to listen to what we have to say before they go see the movie. I do think a lot of folks will regard anything said as a spoiler, but we're going to do our best to be general and not ruin anything for anybody.
General
and then
Grievous.
after a few minutes,
He's
we
in
will... Who's in it?
General Grievous?
He's back.
We're talking
He's
about
back.
episode 3, right? What do you want to talk about?
Jacob, you are the biggest Star Wars fan I know. What did you think of Rise of Skywalker?
My general thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I thought this was an entertaining, hot mess.
Nice, Jacob.
I had fun watching it, but oh boy, it's full of holes. But I there's a lot of it definitely highlights the lack of consistency this trilogy has had in a big way.
It does.
But that it didn't stop it from me just like having those little gems in it that are kind of sprinkled throughout, like, oh, that's great. And the things that it did stay consistent with, I thought those were its strengths, and I guess that kind of sums up my feelings for it. So I enjoyed the film. Boy, it's got problems.
Yeah.
Good job searching your feelings.
Yes, I knew it to be true.
So I asked you first because I thought you'd be the most positive about it.
Yeah.
And certainly glad you recognize that it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But I do think it is a super fun movie, and sometimes you can turn your brain off and just have fun with something, and Star Wars is one of those things that I am able to do that with. What about you guys? I know. I sat with James for 40 minutes riding back to
I
the
walked
office.
out with a more positive feeling, but I think after the last two movies, I sort of realized, well, maybe no one really knows what they're doing in this franchise, and we're all just trying to get through it. So if the last 2.5 hours of this entire thing is fun, and I walk out going, well, at least I wasn't bored or upset at anything. I just went, well, the things happened in the order that they did, and then I saw some cool stuff. And you know what? I don't hate it, but I'm definitely like, I fear like the first one where it's like the more I watch it, I'm going to find issues with it and go, well, dang it, now I'm noticing the holes in the ship when really all they presented you a little square box, and you look through that square box, and everything in that square box looked pretty good and all made sense when it was happening, but then the minute you look past the facade, you start to kind of see the cracks and all the issues, but you know what? I'm happy it's over.
Yeah. And you had a good time, right?
I felt like I walked in and had a good time. I was actually kind of a little blown away by the reviews that have been coming out, where the meta score or the tomato critic score or whatever is at like 58% right now. I was like, whoa.
Remember, that's the Rotten Tomatoes. That means that half of the people that watched it gave it a positive review, and half of the people that watched it didn't give it a positive review.
Maybe
not necessarily that it's 50% bad or
Okay.
50% good.
Last Jedi had a pretty high scoring, actually.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I wonder about that. Like, maybe was this a preemptive thing to be like, well, people want to hate this, so let's just say it's bad. I don't know how that stuff works, but yeah, Last Jedi, I remember like, well, no, you're an idiot that you don't understand this movie. But now the time has gone on. I guess it's sort of become a bit more divisive.
You're allowed to rip on Star Wars now. I think it was a little holy maybe back then.
Yeah, I mean, even after we can get more into it later, but like with Force Awakens, I remember when it first came, I was like, finally they saved Star Wars. But then South Park made fun of it, and everyone, oh wait, am I supposed to hate this? Oh, I hate it now. It's bad because it's the same thing, even though we were asking for the same. Whatever. Star Wars is the Justin Bieber of films, where everyone has an opinion on it and it's hyper popular. So you can make fun of it. It doesn't matter. It's going to make $1 billion and it's just going to keep doing what it's doing, whether you like it or not.
Well, and I think you hit on something. The movie moves at a mile a minute, and you might stop to think, wait, that doesn't make sense. But while you're turning to think about it, something else cool is happening. So it just distracts you the whole time.
I had to go to the bathroom for the first hour and a half, and I'm about to get up and oop, loud noise. They throw a lot at you. Anyway, sorry, I've talked enough.
James?
This is a metaphor that maybe won't work for everyone, but it works really, really well for me. This is a magic show. All right? Star Wars is a magic show. I think all movies, in some ways, are magic shows. But Star Wars is David Copperfield on the ceiling of the roof of a Vegas casino, doing all kinds of stuff with a staff of 1,500 people helping him make a woman float through the air. Right? Impressive.
Yeah.
Spectacle. Do I have any interest really in how you're tricking me? No, not really, because it's such a lame trick. like
calling Star Wars a lame trick?
I'm calling like David Copperfield and the presentation. It's the spectacle. That's why he's doing it. That's why he's adding all this other flair into it, the spectacle. There's also a different kind of magic show, which is a dude sitting in a room with you, having you write your name on a card, shuffling that card, and then that card showing up in your back pocket, and you're like, what the fuck? How did you get a card in my pocket?
Yeah.
I've been sitting the whole time. And you're just blown away. It's an intimate thing, and you're like, that feels, I know magic doesn't exist, but what you've done here is completely tricked me, and I have no concept of how you've managed to achieve this, as opposed to the David Copperfield thing, which is, well, the staff of 45 people all dressed in black pulling pulleys and stuff is what's making her float, not him doing this.
Right. So where does Star Wars land for you?
This is the David Copperfield movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Or this is the
Empire State Building disappearing or whatever.
This is a massive spectacle, Cirque du Soleil style magic show in Vegas, where every single night costs $250,000, and there's a staff of people behind the scenes pulling the strings, which basically means that the magic it's not about the magic. There's no magic there. It's devoid of magic, because anytime something comes up, it would be really easy to figure out the problems, except then they go flashing light or whatever, or like smoke bomb or whatever it may be. There's no mystery. I feel like I have felt not charmed at all by this movie. It's weird. It's I don't know. It's one of many things. I just said, I think as we were like walking out of the theater, I was like, we are now officially in the Fast and Furious of Star Wars, where it doesn't really matter. It's a shame,
because I think
it's a shame. I think the first Fast and the Furious is like a good movie. It starts from a good place, which is
Point Break.
Point Break, or at least someone going into this world and being endeared to it and everything like that. But now
it's one up.
But now none of that is the point of the movie.
Yeah,
now it's just Vin Diesel driving a car out of a skyscraper. That's where we are, I think, with Star Wars now, and it's fantastic. Some of the best Star Wars stuff is going on in this movie that ever has. But anytime anyone opens their mouth, or they try and do a plot or anything, or try and make it purport itself to be any more than a sci-fi special effects showcase, I'm like, this is not good. And I think it's a shame, because we've gotten to the point, you used to have the thing where you'd have shitty actors in this stuff, but everyone's really good.
Oh yeah.
So when they're saying these garbage lines and like terribly written scripts, when they're reading these lines back, you think that you're convinced or you think that it means something.
That's always been Star Wars, though. Like, the dialogue's always been atrocious.
Yeah, but there's been themes at least. Like, as much as I hate to say it, I'm not going to say the prequels are better than these, because I don't think they are. I think these movies will age better and are way more watchable than some of those ones.
Absolutely.
But the prequels were coherent. Like when you got through 1, 2, and 3, by the end of it, it was telling one story that was kind of coherent.
Yeah. It's like I was bored the whole time, but I knew this was happening.
Again, I'm not saying that's better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, in terms of different strengths, it was coherent, and basically the only person that they got who was good was the dude who played Palpatine and Ewan McGregor, and everyone else in that movie was a terrible actor.
I guess the benefit, both these movies are both those separate, trilogies. Definitely benefited from having nostalgia tied to it.
Oh, yeah.
But the prequels were sort of reverse nostalgia, so we knew where it was going. We knew what they were building up to. These ones, we don't know. We didn't know what it was building up to, because the last movie ended with a big, like, everyone shrugging but smiling and, like, giving thumbs up to the camera going, are we happy with this? I don't know what we're doing with it. And then this one comes out, and once again, I enjoyed it, but it felt like 2.5 movies in one.
It very much did seem like JJ was solving
Yeah.
his issues with The Last Jedi.
And just like, by the time you want to bring up a question or you want to question any of it, it's already moving on to the next thing. And they go, forget about all that. We're doing something else. And then the movie ends and everyone cries and you go, why am I crying?
It still
am I
feels
happy or sad?
like no one was talking to anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone had to do everything independently in a box, which is such a weird way to make a trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a shame because you're watching this one and you're like, man, if they had just let JJ do all of them, maybe we could have paced this out a little bit better.
Maybe.
Or even if we had let Rian Johnson do all of them, we could have gotten somewhere. Like, we would have gotten somewhere.
It's that cohesion that's missing.
It's the tag teaming. It's a terrible tag team. They're not working in tandem with each other, and it's not additive. I think that when we first reviewed Force Awakens, I was like, sure, this movie was a nostalgia trip, but if they're setting us up with this base platform of nostalgia, so that way they can take us somewhere else. And then by the end of the third movie, we're like, oh my gosh, look how far we've come from what Star Wars means something else entirely. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It means everything it meant before.
One step forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah.
And then a step to the side. And now we're breakdancing over here for some reason.
Yeah.
That's the Mandalorian.
It's such a weird thing. Anyway, maybe we've said enough.
We start spoiling this movie?
Yeah.
Has it been fast enough? I mean, I feel there's still things, like, again, special effects.
The visuals are incredible. The sets,
the choreography of events, because sometimes you have to give credit to the choreography of action sequences. Incredible. Everything. It's funny because The Last Jedi was described as a chase movie, except it was like a chase movie if it ran at 2 miles an hour. This is a chase. Every single thing is an excuse for a chase or some sort of action set piece to happen.
I think the action set pieces tie together well enough too. Like, it doesn't. Few times are they abrupt changes of pace from one to the other. They flow well.
Yeah,
I think the tone is better, but it still has that silly, wacky, wink, wink, nudge, nudge sort of vibe where it's like, let's be goofy and have fun, which Star Wars has had, but I guess you had the benefit of Harrison Ford, who can do it a bit better. So it's like it still kind of has that annoying charm to it, but it's not as bad as, once again, Last Jedi, that the Southern aliens, like, there's those people who parked in the bad area. Like,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I was like, am I supposed to be laughing at this? I forgot
who that was.
because he's in all Rian Johnson's movies.
Yeah, what a. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's better than that, but it's still, I don't know, something about it still doesn't really feel like Star Wars in a weird way, but I don't think anything ever will, because those are products of their time, perhaps.
Yeah. We can talk about it in the spoilers, but there's some things where I'm like, oh, you misjudged this. You misjudged whether or not this was the right moment for you to inject a little humor, and I don't feel like it's Last Jedi level where you're like, almost kind of like want to put your face down. Like, you're like, that's cringe. Like, it's just like subtle things that, like, you're building to an emotional climax, and then something will happen. You're like, why would you do that now? It's like bad sex. Like, why would you do that now? Kind of thing. But yeah, again, stunning visuals. This movie is maybe the best looking Star Wars movie. ever made.
Some damn good set pieces.
Yeah.
I like the costume designs on point.
It does.
Yeah.
Cool new worlds.
For
A lot.
for
a lot of new
JJ
worlds.
for JJ Abrams also like Force Awakens kind of just used Star Wars as like his visual template.
Yeah.
But there's some shit like even in the first 2 minutes of this movie which is like new. It looks like straight out of the concept art for Star Wars that no one's ever been able to make before.
Yeah.
And it's just these shots that are just like these are shots of huge. I can't even fathom the size and scope of this.
The opening
location
of this
and
movie
stuff.
is amazing.
There's some like cosmic horror level like H.P. Lovecraft like Warhammer type scenes where you're like, this is like there's some stuff in there that's like kind of I imagine is going to be scary for kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's dark at the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of just, and I know you use darkness usually to hide special effects and stuff like that, but like it all has like a kind of a good reason. Like I very much enjoyed looking at the movie, if that helps anyone who's on the fence.
And
It's a big part of movie
for our
viewing.
deaf audience.
It's the furthest thing from the prequels where it's like clearly someone standing in a green space. Like I maybe in 10 years things will change or whatever and we'll be able to look back at these and find the seams. I can't find the seams in any of the visual effects of this movie.
They did a great job.
It's remarkable. These huge, again, world-size rooms.
Yeah.
Like Adam saying Warhammer shit, and you're like, I don't know. Did you build this? Like you may have built this set. I can't tell.
After having watched Revenge of the Sith recently, and then watching this movie, it's definitely something that's been more apparent to me because watching like Revenge of the Sith for some reason is like the fakest looking movie I've ever seen. Where it's just like
I think because they kept moving away further and further from practical sets.
Yeah,
they're like, hey guys, congratulations, we did it.
It's like,
we don't need it anymore. And they're like, George, he goes, nope.
yeah.
Stop asking questions.
And I think that's definitely some place that Star Wars has grown a whole lot.
Yeah. The only problem is a lot of that stuff is them going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you snapping because you want me to not see that you're taking my watch off? And they're like, no.
Taking all the money out of my wallet.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I feel satisfied after this whole thing, but I'm happy that once again, it feels like we just did a marathon and it's over and we did it, and I hope we learned a lot and we can move on and try again, or we can continue watching things like Mandalorian that seem to do their own thing and have fun. I'm okay with that. So
Yeah.
that's about all I have to say.
Yeah.
Right
That's
about
about
that.
as much as we can do without spoilers.
Yeah, things I want to say I like about this movie are all spoiler things.
Yeah, same. All right, so support for Filmhouse comes from Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels.
Something segue about Chewbacca.
Jingle balls to the walls, fellas. Listen up. Untrimmed pubes are a thing of the past. It's time to gear up and get yourself the gift of shaving this holiday season. I'm talking about the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. Manscaped is a revolutionary company that has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. The Lawnmower 2.0 comes inside their Perfect Package 2.0, which makes for the perfect gift this holiday season. It's literally everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, and smelling nice down there. The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0 also includes the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Perfect Package will also come with a pair of Manscaped high-performance anti-chafing boxer briefs that'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day. 'Tis the season to Manscaped, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all. The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code FILMHOUSE at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. So that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Just use the code FILMHOUSE. So clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year.
Chestnuts.
Thanks, Manscaped, for bringing us here this week to talk about Star Wars. I think it's time we can just spoil the movie. If you're at all spoiler averse, please turn this off, pause it, come back after you've seen this movie and see what we have to say, because I think this is going to be the meat of the discussion and the more fun part for us, at least, to talk about.
We can answer the question. We know everyone wants to know, Yes, Biggs or Wedge, I think, is in the movie.
Wedge Antilles.
Wedge Antilles. Come on, guys.
I did go and look up the quote because I remember him specifically not wanting to be in Force Awakens because he thought it would be boring.
Oh, okay.
They're
And
like-
then they were like, "What if we put another 0?" And he's like, $100? I'll do it.
I think that may have been Greg Grunberg's ticket into Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think that was his ticket into Star Wars. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I guess the real spoiler. I'm sure everyone came for. They're like, hey, everyone's got questions.
Is
They
Greg
wanna
gonna
know.
make it out?
No, unfortunately, Greg Grunberg dies in this one.
Oh, and he's like the only one.
Everyone's
He screamed.
favorite character who literally wedged his way into this somehow.
He did scream JJ's
wedged
trash,
out by
right?
wedge.
Wasn't that?
I think he said, "Thank you for this opportunity."
See you in the next JJ film.
We can. I want to. I want to hear Jacob's favorite things, and
Yeah.
actually the stuff he didn't like, being the number one fan of this stuff.
Okay. I thought the strongest thing in this movie was, or the strongest, I guess, people in this movie were like the Rey and Kylo Ren stuff.
Sure.
And that's the one thing that they kind of built on from The Last Jedi is that they had a connection with each other, where they can like see they can see each other from across like vast distances and somehow interact with each other.
The payoff from that was incredible.
Yeah, because like in The Last Jedi, you had the thing where she's on the island and it's raining and stuff, and then he has like water on his face. And he's kind of like weirded out by that. And in this, it kind of does this interesting thing where they're looking at each other, but like the shot will be moving around, and then like there'll be like a fake cut, and then it'll be in a different place, but they're still like moving the same way. So they'll have these confrontations that are happening in two different places, but are still framed like as if they're in the other place. And I thought it was really interesting. And like Dan said, there's a big payoff with them being able to move objects and stuff from one place to the other.
Which is also set up slightly earlier in the movie.
Yeah,
in a
like
great way.
it felt intentional in a movie that's very like it seems like an accident a lot of the time.
That's the one thing from Last Jedi that was paid off. I
Yeah.
think honestly, because like when they are having their shared moments or whatever, and then like he's wet. And he's like, she's somewhere wet. Like you're like, oh, they have a thing here, and that's the only element of this movie that I feel like is not just trounced over.
The only problem with that was it was revealed in the movie that it was Snoke doing it. So then they never really explain, which once again, it's the magic trick. They're like, oh, it's that thing they could do from the last movie. Like, didn't Snoke? No. It's happening. They're doing it again. Watch.
Well, maybe once he initiates that connection, it doesn't go away. They're just connected.
Sure.
Wait,
They
I'm making
basically
excuses.
introduced new force powers.
There's
in
a
the
lot of
movie.
new force, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's the ability to transfer objects between space and time itself, or down the room, however you want to do it. And then I guess life steal and life give, which are things that they hinted at strongly. I mean, even hint at. They just talk about it in Revenge of the Sith, and then they kind of pay that stuff off in this one in a weird way.
Did that feel like a payoff to you? Because to me, that felt like a diminish.
Which one?
The Palpatine's
sucking
ability
life out of him.
to save life and to bring people back from the dead. Big spoiler.
I mean, we're on spoilers.
I know.
spoiler.
I'm just letting you know. Sometimes people pick and choose,
Hard
but like
spoiler.
Rey dies in her battle with Palpatine.
Yeah.
Her grandfather. Which is, by the way,
Palpatine.
Yeah,
again,
that's the big reveal of the movie. One of the big ones.
Back to the world of great improv. Okay, maybe we take at least. I know I diminish it, but maybe we take at least one class if we're going to try our hands at writing a movie. But when someone says no, it's not, and you've already crushed the scene and you've destroyed the momentum, you can't go, no, it's not, but yes, it is. That's also bad improv. But anyway.
You're talking about the reveal
Yes.
that you're
where in
Rey-
Last Jedi, they specifically, Kylo goes, I know who your parents are. They're just normal people.
nobody.
Yeah.
And then they're nobody. They're normal people. And then in this movie, he goes, remember when I told you they were normal people? I meant that. But only because they were pretending to be. Because they were actually, like, your
he
father
seemed
was
to not know
Palpatine's
that.
son.
Right? Kylo didn't know
until
that.
Palpatine
and
told
someone
him.
revealed him.
Which I guess
Which-
is an extension of the problem. Is
Yes,
Yeah.
because they didn't
Doesn't solve the
know. They
problem.
didn't. Kylo, Adam Driver didn't know what the fuck he was talking about in Last Jedi because the person who wrote Last Jedi didn't know what the fuck anyone was going to do after he was done. But anyway, back to it. Rey dies in her fight with Palpatine. And then Kylo, using a technique that Rey used on him earlier, manages to
transfer
life energy, force energy into her to bring her back to life.
Yeah.
Accept that. And some people are like, oh, like Palpatine mentioned in Revenge of the Sith. Except Revenge of the Sith to me was always cooler with the idea that he just lied about that kind of
it
shit
was
to
just a false
manipulate
promise.
Anakin with a false promise.
Yeah.
Even knowing that there was no hope for him, but making him believe that there was a chance, so that way he goes down this pathway with the hope that there's a chance, but there is no chance, and then once you realize it's too late, right? That's the whole thing about moving someone to the dark side. So if Palpatine was being honest, he's like, no, seriously, you can save her. To me, that whole scene, which is like one of the few good scenes in all of the prequels, is like means way less. So he's like, no, you could save people.
Yeah.
Well, I thought
he
was like
says something from the prequels in this movie. He quotes himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says something like, saving your life is unnatural.
The dark side of the force is a pathway to many abilities. That whole line.
That's what I figured was he was like, it's the curse, right? Where the whatever, where it's like, yeah, you can save life, but you're not gonna like what it looks like, and it's you with a giant metal rod up your back that moves you around and gives you black lipstick.
Yeah.
So he's like, I can save Padme. You're not gonna like it.
Can we talk about Palpatine a bit?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
that's like the first thing that happens in the movie. Even the opening crawl is like, Palpatine's back!
Yeah, they brought
what
him
does
back
it
in
say?
the crawl.
The dead speak!
That's what it
Exclamation
said.
point. I'm like, why are you yelling at me?
Yeah, I would argue this is potentially the worst opening crawl, but it's made up for because the first 20 minutes of the movie are
fucking
like
dope.
spectacular to look at, and then he goes, I killed Snoke. He goes, bitch, I was Snoke. And you go, oh, okay, cool. Thank you for answering that.
There's even a tube of Snokes, by the
Yeah,
way.
he said, I made Snoke, and then it shows him some Snokes in a vat.
Yeah.
Which I know is lazy, and we're doing is we're moving puzzle pieces and going, and maybe they don't fit, but we're jamming it in until it works.
That's
and
something I'd kind of assumed after like Force Awakens and Last Jedi. It's like, even if Palpatine isn't alive, Snoke was probably part of like something that he did. Because Snoke's like this evil dark side
and
dude.
if you don't think about it and you're watching it just happen in real time, your brain goes, I just watched Last Jedi not too long ago. My brain's like, man, I hope they answer that. And then they do in the first 20 minutes ago. Checkbox done. We're moving forward.
But it's a shitty answer.
It is a bad
It's
answer.
a garbage answer.
But that scene where he's in the old Sith temple is cool looking, right?
Again, all this visual stuff is amazing. It's the writing that's bad. Like I said, it sounds like I theorize that there's like, all right, you got to write the Star Wars movie, but you can only outline on a single napkin, and you get one draft. So
Palpatine's
there's a lot of things that are set up
Make
in the
it
movie
count.
that they forget by the end that they were supposed to pay off.
I just don't.
The biggest sin of all that had me just like mind blown.
We're recording this on a Wednesday, so this is before the movie comes out. I'm going to go see it again on Thursday, and I'm going to look for this specifically.
Please help me in case I missed it. Please let me know.
Yeah.
But there is a moment where they get trapped in a quicksand-like thing, and then as they're going down, Finn and Rey are the last ones kind of above the quicksand, and right before he's submerged, he goes, Rey, wait, I have something I need to tell you. And then she goes, what? And he's like, I have something to tell. And then he gets sucked underneath. They both get sucked underneath. Turns out it doesn't matter. They just get pulled into an underground cave.
Okay.
An underground cave, no problem. And then she goes, hey, what was that thing you were gonna tell me? He's like, oh, I'll tell you later. Cool. Okay. Now you've seeded something. I'm excited. I'm intrigued. What is this thing that only death is worth bringing it out? Okay. Later on in the movie, they are on the verge of being shot. It's him and Poe, Finn and Poe. And then Poe, who was there during this interaction, goes, hey, what was that thing you were going to say to Rey? And he was like, I don't think this is the right time. And he was like, we're about to die. Of course this is the right time. And then they get saved, lo and behold. He doesn't say anything. The movie ends without him ever saying what that thing is.
I think they're hugging, and she goes, hey, what was that? Dun, 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 dun. And, he goes, and you're like, okay, so that's just mystery box stuff?
The movie just ends. It doesn't, and I think it's because they forgot.
I think you're supposed to assume he's going to tell her he loves her.
But
right?
he's gay. like everything else in the movie.
That the internet has put on.
No, there's way more indications in this movie that first of all, if that's the thing, that's dumb because they have zero romantic chemistry.
Yeah.
I think it's just he's been obsessed with her since the very beginning, since The Force Awakens.
I haven't gotten that at all.
No.
Like Rey, that's the biggest. I think the biggest problem with this whole trilogy is Rey is so important and has spent most of the time interacting with the old generation. Like the only thing she really did was build a rapport with
Han Solo.
Han Solo.
Yeah.
And so, and even the Leia thing was kind of forced. She's like, I will miss you. And I'm like, I didn't see you guys do anything together. At least I saw Luke get tricked by Yoda, train with Yoda, be with Yoda during his last moments. You see all these things unfold, and you're like, oh my God, he has a connection to this guy he met in the woods.
So when the puppet crust dissolves, you feel sad.
So, but it took him from being just this kid to being a Jedi. Yoda is the reason for that. You don't see any of that. It's implied that she trained with Leia or whatever, but she also is just, she's like, I'm going to train now, and then runs into the woods, and a bot shoots at her, and she jumps over a chasm.
And she's like, you've completed your training.
and Leia's like, you're good. And she's like, no, I'm not. And Leia's like, okay.
Except the moment before she's doing her god trance, and she has rocks around her, and then she's like, the Force is not with me, and then like front flip flies, and I was like, wow, okay, she's gotten powerful. This is pretty cool. And then a little robot shoots her in the arm. She's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I thought you were. She's like, I can't hit this thing.
So
it's like, is she ready? I don't know.
Even if the thing is, Finn's gonna say, I love you, Rey, there's nothing for that to go on. That's super lame, by the way.
I'm not going to agree that it's not super lame, but I do think there's seeds of that in all of the series of him being obsessed with her.
He has
I think dropping it makes sense.
He has way more charisma with Poe, though.
I think
their
that,
relationship is more of the heart of the movie. I always thought
Disney's
it was
not
weird.
going to do that, though. They're not
do you
going to
mean?
have gay.
They don't
main
have to.
characters.
They had two gay characters in the movie Kiss.
in the background at the very end.
Check that box.
I mean, it was there. I mean,
I think there's a difference in hiding something in the background and having two of the main characters. I just don't think Disney would do it.
It's not one or the other though. They don't have to make him gay or make him straight, but they don't know. They clearly don't know what he is. And I think
agreed.
that's the problem by
Right.
having him have this secret that they don't even feel we need to share with the audience.
Yeah.
That means they don't know who Finn is and they don't know what he is.
Yeah, I mean, like it doesn't have to be the crux of the story, and it doesn't have to be a defining characteristic of them. But the fact that we're even talking about it, when it's like, wait, you're confused, Dan, saying, oh, I thought they were in love, like that. I never saw that, and James going, oh, I thought Poe and Finn were in love. I'm very confused. Who loves who?
Well, I think they even started
missed
introducing
something.
Poe being into Rey in this movie as well.
Yeah, well,
and then they dropped it before
exactly.
the end.
The first scene that they share together is like the first kind of real interaction I feel like they had together, and it's this
In any movie.
The sassy back and
it's this
forth.
sassy back and forth that exactly mirrors Han and Leia.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's the end of it. That's the last time they basically speak until they hug at the end of the movie for the most part. So like they got into the third movie without knowing who the characters were.
Well, and I think they might have purposely been desexualizing Rey and not having, other than the Ben relationship, not having a major romantic thing. Because even their kiss at the end doesn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't.
They've
like
got
that
this
at
close
all.
relationship, but it doesn't really feel romantic at all
He
until
also
that
tortured
point.
her and her friends.
Yeah,
He's the worst.
Nightmarish.
He's the
It's a
worst
nightmarish
stalker boyfriend ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it wouldn't have.
Easy
I don't-
on the eyes, though.
The thing is, I don't think it would have. I would have ever thought of it as this stalker boyfriend relationship if they didn't kiss at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, why did you have them kiss? And now I'm completely thinking about their relationship, unless you guys don't know. And
remember
that's ultimately the answer.
Specifically
that
in that moment where Kylo Ren sacrifices himself to bring her back to life, I'm like, don't kiss, don't kiss, don't
Yeah.
kiss, don't kiss.
No!
Yeah. They did it.
Well, it's one of those moments where you're like, man, this will be so satisfying if they don't kiss.
I was like,
Because then it's just
please,
like two people that are just tied, and sometimes there's just human beings, men and women, that are just tied together in this world that aren't necessarily trying to think about going down on each other. But nope, turns out they were the whole time they were.
Yeah.
So what's something else that we liked in this movie? Because I think there's plenty of things to pick apart and be frustrated about. But so you were talking about, I'm going to throw one out there, that you were talking about training scenes. That scene where it was a flashback motivated by a stupid reason, but it was still a cool scene when we see Luke and Leia training.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome.
That's fine. They did the deep fake faces, but they did it in the dark, which was very smart.
Like
I was
one source of light.
Yeah.
And they also,
Way
by the
more
way,
sellable.
they're wearing helmets that like only have about this much
Exactly.
of their face showing.
Yeah.
This right here.
It's young Mark Hamill's lips.
Yeah, I think it is like visually one of the best things that I've seen, and like I walked away with a sense of enjoyment, and like even when they kissed, I went, oh, okay. Like I wasn't like, this angers me. It was weird. I had no like visceral reaction because I think to me they're just so blank, these things, and I've said before, I think Kylo Ren is probably the most interesting character, whereas Finn should be. And they at least sort of address it in this other one. They're like, there are other stormtroopers, and they do that whole bit where I like that they started going down that rabbit hole, which I wish they had done a movie ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like, oh, that's real interesting that he just decided not to be a stormtrooper. What was that? What happened? And there's like, oh, there's other people who feel that way too, and the movie's over. And you're like, what?
Also, like, imagine if that was something that was seeded in the second movie and then was paid off in this movie when there's a big showdown and a battle that involves a lot of stormtroopers, and it's like, you can choose. And you give Finn a catharsis moment because the whole fucking trilogy starts with Finn choosing, right? All of this happens because of Finn and because he stops and makes a choice at the opening scene of the first movie of this, a choice that's society tells him that he can't make and that he's been raised to think that he can't make, but he makes it. And then that's what ends up setting off the events for basically the rest of these 3 movies.
There is a cut scene from Last Jedi where they're about to fight Captain Phasma or whatever. It's not a good scene, but he does tell the stormtroopers to turn on her because she's like a coward or something, and they're all starting to like think about it, and then she starts shooting them, or whatever.
Right.
I've seen
like
that.
The idea was in there somewhere.
There was something there, but man, imagine if we had gotten that second movie. He discovers that there are others like him. But they have, instead of fighting, they've kind of fled, you know? But then he's a symbol for them as someone who has left, made this decision, left, and then come back and fought to get to this point. And now there's this battle where it looks like all hope is lost, but he's able to appeal to them. And then it's like, boom. By the way, that's how you destroy, every single movie is just them with some new weapon.
Yeah,
That they blow up once, and then the next movie they come back with another weapon, and it turns out they had 1,000 more weapons that are 10 times better. So honestly, the battle is not a battle of technology; it's a battle of ideology.
Yeah.
And they don't address that at all. But a Finn thing probably would have done, like, if you have no soldiers, you have no empire.
Yeah.
You know, like. It's a shame because there's things there that could have really been paid off.
And I feel like they sort of tried to do that by having like the giant fleet of random ships come in. They're like, oh, it's just people, but it kind of just like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like there is the seed of something there of them trying to show that like people will unite against tyranny and stuff, but then they go back to...
But in the last movie they didn't show. That's something I thought also didn't make sense, is they put out the call at Crate, no one showed up. So and then, like, a month later, they decided to show up without any sort of
left
explanation.
for 15 minutes and came back with 1,000 ships.
And then this movie has to go at light speed, no pun intended, to try and introduce that there are other worlds with good people that, you know, that are afraid to fight but want to fight. Like, so there's like there's one scene with the stormtroopers. There's one scene with Kerry Russell. So they just like throw these scenes into this movie, which by the way bogs down the plot.
Yeah,
and
could have been seeded a movie ago.
And imagine if you had some of that in Force Awakens, and then some of that in Last Jedi, and some of that here. Like,
so I guess I have another question that maybe you can answer this. But the planet where they found all the former stormtroopers, the angry ocean planet,
or the Death
that
Star,
had the Death Star.
Some Endor moon wasn't the same Endor moon.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the part that confuses me.
Yeah. They said the name of it, but I didn't hear it.
Was it a moon of Endor?
It was a moon of Endor, though.
Okay,
but it wasn't the same one.
Okay.
That makes it a little bit
by the
better.
time, I guess things fall out of space. Maybe it just hovered there until one of the moon came and then smashed into it.
It's a big piece of metal.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm not going to argue the science of it. I don't understand how a knife can show you the way via compass.
That was a little wacky.
Thank God she walked to that point.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, in the moment, and went, oh, that makes sense. And they go, well, doesn't water move it? Don't think we're moving on. We moved on. She already found the thing.
Literally
Stop thinking.
Wandered over a hill. They were like, we don't have any landing gear. We have to crash. They crash, and then they just wander over the nearest hill, and they're like, this is exactly where the knife wanted us to be, the magic knife.
They at least at some point explain, they're like, well, how did you know? He goes, I don't know. The Force told me. And they go, okay, cool. There's our Deus Ex Machina. Like the Force is a power that moves the script forward. They're like, and that's fine. That's okay, as long as at least they admitted it in the movie. And
this is going to be a worse analogy than my magic analogy. But I was saying to Dan that House. You ever watch House?
Yeah.
House is a really fun show to watch, but its mysteries are terrible. Every single time someone comes in, he goes, "I have a stomach ache, doc," and they do all these tests on his stomach, and the other doctors do things. And they're checking his stomach acids, and they think it might be this, they think it might be this. In the last 10 minutes of every single episode, House comes in, does something wacky, like we're gonna cut his stomach open, and they're like, "You can't do that, House." He cuts his stomach open. Turns out he swallowed a toothpick. You as the audience, there's no way you could have played along with that mystery because they didn't provide you with the clues. They told you other things were true when the truth of the matter is...
He wasn't eating like a BLT.
That,
You meet him when he's sick.
Yes,
so
you meet him when he's sick.
There's no context.
That's all of the mysteries in this trilogy, but especially in this movie are we didn't give you everything. So when she goes, "Wait a minute," and then she pulls a thing out of the knife and goes, "This is where it is," you're like, you never. This is the first time you're showing that there's a thing in the knife. Like,
but I just like in the moment that you're watching it, I didn't question it. I just kept going for it. I guess that's the JJ magic.
That's the finger snapping.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, we're moving. Okay.
Great fingers, beautiful fingers.
I'm bummed. I was happy the Knights of Ren were in there.
Yeah.
I'm bummed they didn't do anything. They ultimately served as things for Kylo to fight.
Yeah.
Which I was like, well, there's an interesting story, right? Aren't these all like these are former kids who were trained to be Jedis that never say a word, and they don't do anything until they fight Kylo, right?
He brings them.
They walk around a lot.
Yeah, they walk around a lot.
They're chasing our main heroes at one point.
Yeah, I felt a little bummed that you didn't get to see a lot of them, but I'm glad they're in the movie. But I was like, oh man,
It felt weird though because that was almost like this trilogy nostalgia. Like it's like, don't you guys remember the Knights of Ren? And I'm like, no, you just told me about that.
Yeah.
like you can't do that. Like
they were mentioned.
Yeah.
Point.
I do want to talk about C-3PO being in the movie a whole lot.
He finally got a movie to shine in, other than being just the jokester the whole time.
Yeah.
Which he still did.
They spent a lot of time shitting on him.
shit
A lot.
on him.
Yeah.
They're like,
Which I
no
thought
one likes you. Shut up, nerd.
Which I liked.
He's the Aaron Barrett of.
I feel like he had a lot of moments, and he was actually important to the plot.
They unfortunately did the thing though where, like James was saying, they introduced the thing and they go, here are the risks of this world. And then it's undone because we lied to you.
Yeah.
But
You mean about his personality? Or
well,
him not being
they
able to
said
translate
they're like
Sith?
they do the thing where they go, well, this will erase your memory. Like, well, what about back him to R2? He goes, you can't do that. They're unreliable. And then R2 goes, no, I backed up your memory, dum dum. And he goes, oh, thank you.
It really takes all of the heft out of the sacrifice,
right?
When you just undo it half an hour later in the movie.
Which is, by the way, C-3PO is the second undoing of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because the biggest. Were you going to talk about? If you want to. I don't.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm
move.
talking a lot. So if you
Oh,
want,
no.
What's your C-3PO?
I just like seeing him in the movie a whole
too.
bunch. Just like he's just being himself, and he hasn't really been in a Star Wars movie this much since like Return of the Jedi or something. I guess you can kind of there's Attack of the Clones where George Lucas discovered that puns exist, and that's the entire reason C-3PO's in that movie is to be the worst thing ever.
Oh, no, you're right.
He was a hero in this movie.
Well, yeah, but
he wasn't just along for the ride.
I felt like maybe there was some character payoff though. Even though, he's a droid, where they're like shut up, 3PO, no one likes you. And he's like, I was made by Anakin Skywalker. Like, shut up, like, you're garbage, you're trash. And then he's like, oh, I'll sacrifice myself. But they even kind of undo a little bit where like he goes, wait, I have another idea, and they kill him.
Yeah, that was great.
Which was more. That's more of a comedic payoff than anything else.
And there was some good comedy in this movie that didn't seem too cheap or too lowbrow.
It feels a little out of place for Star Wars. Like it feels like it does feel a little forced in there. But yeah, no, I didn't hate the humor, but it just when you look at the things that you love about Star Wars, I'm never like, okay,
the jokes.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's more Harrison Ford.
I would say there's a difference between comedy and charisma.
Yeah,
and I think Han Solo is charismatic. He is funny, yes, but I think it's because he's charismatic. The rest of the movie takes itself relatively seriously. Maybe some of the puppets do wacky stuff or whatever, but like the
Babu
rest.
Frick.
Oh yeah, I love Babu.
Which I think was a perfect
Great
use
new
of
character.
comedy.
Yeah.
He was a great new character, and it's a puppet. You're not supposed to take him seriously.
And it was a
it's like-
fucking puppet.
Yeah.
And not a computer-generated character,
Like
which
goofy
matters
voice.
so much.
Does it? I mean, it may have been computer generated. You don't know.
I think it
It all
was.
looks
I think
really
he was
generated
pretty
to look like a
practical.
puppet.
Okay.
It looked practical. to me.
Um,
Speaking
look
of practical, Maz Kanata was in this movie, and she was a puppet.
Was she really?
Like, I was looking at her like, something's different here. And then in the last scene she's in where she's like standing over Leia after Leia sacrifices herself, I'm like, she's a puppet. She's a puppet in this movie for some reason.
Yeah.
Did Did she serve any point in this movie other than just being
I mean,
one
she
of the
didn't
last
serve-
resistance
She
fighters?
didn't serve much purpose in the last movie either.
Yeah,
Was
just
she
like
in
a-
Last Jedi?
Yeah,
Remember
She
they're
tells him
watching
to-
like a hollow cube of her, and she's like,
Woof.
like
she's like
she's
Rocket
in a-
Raccoon in battle.
Yeah, she's in like an exciting movie or something.
Yeah.
And she, I mean,
Let's
had
see that
she
one.
if they went, Maz, we need some help, and she went, no, I got nothing for you. They go, okay. Well, now the First Order won't blast out the Resistance cruisers, and everything would be fine because Holdo wants to keep conversations to herself. I don't understand.
I do think so to step back just one conversation, the undoing 3PO sacrifice, I find that frustrating because it seems to me like Disney is like you have to put all the pieces back after you play with them. Like put your toys back in the box
good
the
way to
same
put
way
it.
they were, except for the humans who die in real life. We're going to kill those characters.
Yeah, you were bringing up Chewie though, because that's a problem
Yeah.
I had.
Oh
was
my
the
God.
fake
I was
out.
really mad at
It's
first.
it's weird because it's the combination of unceremonious killing, off-screen killing, to never mind.
Yeah.
So, but it's not. It didn't feel like it was good. It
was a bad fake out.
There's a moment where they're in the desert, and for no reason, Rey decides to waste time. It's weird. I don't like thinking of my heroes as senile old men, but that's what they did to Chewie.
yeah.
So basically, like
Well, even
Rey,
almost worse than that because Finn goes, Chewie, do my job for me.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like so.
Chewie, do the work.
So they're about to fly away from this desert, but then they know that the Knights of Ren and Kylo are coming, and so Rey decides she needs to go walk into the desert so that way something, and then
She's, like, drawn to
she's drawn to
Kylo.
him or whatever.
Sure.
And so then Finn says, "Chewie, go get Rey." He walks out of the front of the ship and has lost her. Somehow, even though they're showing her through the windshield, she's right there.
The physics of the space make no
It
sense.
makes sense, and he just kind of goes, and then like wanders off like
Yeah.
a senile old man.
And then Surgery goes, come with me.
And then the next time you see him, he's handcuffed and he's just like. He also, by the way, has the secret knife item. He has everything of importance with him, and he's
in
just
his
like,
bag.
take me away, and then he just walks into the back of a prison transport.
Which is parked like 10 feet from their ship.
Yeah. And then Rey has this whole thing where the transport ship takes off, starts to fly away, and she uses her force powers to try and pull it back. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because it seemed really shitty that he was getting taken,
Yeah.
and I hope this doesn't become a whole thing. So I hope that she can show her abilities to do that. Kylo Ren shows up, starts pulling it away from her until she gets so frustrated pulling it that lightning shoots out of her fingers. Palpatine lightning shoots out of her fingers, blows up the transport ship, and it's like, oh my God, Chewie, no! And even Kylo Ren's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
you killed Chewie.
Yeah, dude. He was kind of important.
He was like, oh,
He
he's
must
my
have known
dad's friend.
Chewie.
Yeah.
He had your
That
knife.
was my uncle.
And so
Yeah,
it's like this
seriously.
whole reaction, like, oh shit,
Dog
and then
uncle.
they pull Rey away, and then they fly away like they could, and for some reason now they're not being stopped anymore, even though there's troops everywhere. They're like, let them go.
They just showed that Kylo Ren can stop a ship.
Then there's one scene of them going like, it wasn't your fault, Chewie, like, Kylo Ren forced you to do that, and you didn't mean to do that, and, Chewie would want us to go on or whatever.
her fault.
And then the next scene is Chewie getting pulled off a different transport ship, getting locked up in a Star Destroyer, and them going, good thing we had two identical transport ships parked right next to each other for this very purpose.
They didn't even have the balls to let it go on for like 3 minutes.
No, yeah.
It was one of those things where it's like they could have just stopped it at a certain point. Like maybe the ship just gets away. They fight over it and it gets away. Maybe Rey's lightning doesn't blow it up or whatever.
But in the moment, you saw her shoot lightning, and you went, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
she's becoming." Lightning means evil,
Yeah.
and so she's doing
Well,
it.
And she's like, I could have killed Chewie. All you need to do is replace the line, I killed Chewie, with I could have
could've.
killed Chewie because I let things get out of control.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like
And
if
now
that
he's
was
gone.
Yeah, I guess
And
that
you
meant-
land in the exact same place you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always frustrating in movies. Like if that had just gotten away, it's like okay, he's on the ship. We know he's on the ship. We should try to rescue him.
Yeah.
And then it's not like we not have to deal with a dumb fake out.
I guess audiences are like, no matter what now, too, the people are savvy enough where it's like, well, if you don't see a body, they're not dead.
No.
That tends to be
Yeah.
the rule.
Except
Palpatine.
for the fact that everyone in that fucking theater gasped at the same time when Chewie's transport ship exploded and there was no body.
Right.
And everyone, and then when they showed him again, everyone, clapped again. So
I mean,
We did have that borderline obnoxious audience. I think.
this is like first
say
week
this-
audience.
I'll say
Yeah.
this: these were probably Star Wars fans because we went to an early screening and there were lots of Star Wars T-shirts and they all clapped and hooted during the big crawl and
Yep.
everything like that.
Yeah.
But when they said that she was Palpatine's granddaughter, everyone laughed. There was not an excited cheer or any, it sounded like laughter. Like people were like, "Really, you fucking with me?" Like kind of reaction.
I didn't
So-
like that she was his granddaughter.
Yeah, I was thinking clone.
Yeah.
But because they were showing the Snoke clone stuff,
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, maybe she was a screwed up one, and she's like a light side clone or something.
Well, and never
I don't
had
know.
they ever introduced his family existing.
Yeah,
or
I was
even
gonna say,
mentioned
yeah.
it.
He
It's the toothpick. It's the
Yeah.
toothpick in the stomach.
So he had a
Palpatine
wife at some
banged.
point,
Or
right?
maybe he just
I mean,
banged
did-
somebody. He just made some babies.
I'm gonna blow
Yeah.
your mind right now, Dan. People don't have to be married to have kids. you psychopath.
I guess I'm also trying
He
to
was a
figure out.
senator.
This is Disney
He was
ass.
a senator.
I don't know the timing of it all, but so he I guess he would have maybe had to have sex with someone while he was Emperor Palpatine for
got all
the
that power.
timeline to work out.
So this is post Mace Windu lightning face transformation.
Yeah, sexy
yeah,
Palpatine.
maybe
Okay.
or right around that time.
I want to
is when
know.
he should-
I want to
would
know
have
when
to
they
have
had
dude.
sex with
He
him.
didn't get his
Work out the
dick zapped
timeline.
by lightning.
No, I'm just saying they had to look at him. Maybe.
You think he's all white and crinkly and disheveled, but has just a normal dick?
He might be jacked.
I just want to see him when he's like after episode 3 when he's like, we did it. Everyone did it. We're celebrating. Go to the party, and he's at the party, and there's like, what are you doing later tonight? She's
see
like,
it, yeah.
I'm not seeing anyone right now, but I'm okay.
You know, I'm a senator.
Well,
I'll be emperor someday.
He goes, hold on, let me take my hood off. And she goes, oh my gosh. He goes, it all looks like this.
Yeah.
Also, my eyes are orange now.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
liked
really
his
cool.
cataracts. I thought they were extra
Well, yeah, he's
creepy.
got
I
the-
thought it was cool how, I mean, like the Emperor we see until the end when he gets all that power back. He's basically just like a corpse with like his like evil spirit or whatever inside it.
With
'Cause
his,
he's
like-
just, he just doesn't move except for his mouth.
Yeah.
And he's all like he's got like the creepy like blue lips and his fingers are falling apart and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
just
And,
like a
and he has
body.
like his like audience members of like, who are all these people in hoods who just like sit around like Palpatine.
Yeah.
They had like 10,000 dudes.
That
in
was something I
hoods.
would have liked to see more of, is like this weird like Sith cult or whatever
loved it.
Yeah.
that's resurrecting him.
It had like a cool like satanic vibe to it or something. Where it's like, this is
Yeah.
creepy
all
shit.
the big statues and stuff.
I dug it, but then it's like, yeah, the minute you start asking questions, you're not gonna have a good time.
Yeah. I mean, like.
Can I interrupt
Yeah,
there?
go
Because I
for
think
it,
we
sure.
need to hear a word from our sponsor, Feels, this week. Adam tried out Feels.
Yeah, I did.
Would you tell us a little bit about him?
I sure will. Hey guys, Adam here. Question: do you ever feel stressed, have anxiety, or just overall kind of trouble sleeping? If you're anything like me, your answer is yes, followed by a yawn because of the bad night of sleep we all got last night. Well, actually, recently I've been sleeping a lot better and feeling a lot less stressed out because I've been trying out Feels, and I definitely feel a better overall sense of calm. Feels is a premium CBD product that is delivered right to your door. And when I first tried out natural alternatives to sleep and anxiety problems, I actually bought it from a grocery store in Texas. Now, it's nice to have it just delivered whenever I want it. I usually just put a couple of drops of water under my tongue and I'm good to go. And since I'm on their membership program, I'm saving money on every order, which if you join, you can pause or cancel anytime. You just get what you need. Feels offers a CBD hotline if you have any questions about the product. I know I did when I first tried it out, and I do feel like I learned a lot. And just to be clear, this isn't something you take to get high or anything like that. I know there are some misconceptions about that sort of stuff. But like I said, this is something when I first tried it out, I got from a grocery store in the middle of America. So super easy. But do us a favor and avoid going to the store, since Feels has been helping me feel my best. They'd like to help you as well. Become a member today by going to feels.com/filmhouse and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's feals.com/filmhouse to become a member and get 50% off automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. That's feals.com/filmhouse. Thank you, Feels.
Right on, so that's Feels, feals.com/filmhouse to become a member, and you get 50% off taken automatically off your first order, and you get free shipping. It's feels.com/filmhouse.
One last thing I want to address. Billy D. Williams is a I think it's great that he's back in the movie. Unfortunately, everything he says, he sounds like he just had sex with it. So when they're like, give Leia my love, he's like, don't worry,
Leia my love.
Yeah, he's like, give it, like, he basically says, I'm gonna come in her, like the way he phrased it, and then afterwards, and that girl's like, she's like, I don't know my family. He's like, well, let's see if we can find out.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, she's like, you know what you mean, sir. Yeah, like, we like looked at each other because she's like, oh, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from here. Where are you from? She's like, oh, I don't know, I've never known. She's like, well, why don't we find out? And I'm like,
he's like, there's a private room on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, let's go find out right now.
Let me show you. It only locks on one side.
Speaking of that,
It's got the Matt Lauer lock.
I do think it's funny that there are 2 times in this movie where someone goes, hi, it's nice to meet you. What's your name? She goes, Rey. And they go, last name.
I'm gonna just pick one.
Tell me your last name.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know who the fuck you are. I'm like, I wish we could have done that in the first movie.
the guy from Solo should come and just name her Solo.
Yeah.
You're all alone. Yeah.
Solo.
He goes, female. That was the other thing too, where it's like at the moment when it's like, oh, this is kind of a sweet moment. She goes back to Tatooine and she buries the lightsabers, which is like, I didn't know Leia had a lightsaber, but sure, I guess she was trained to be a Jedi. That's a cool little story that we can add to the lore.
Yeah.
But then it was like, well, only Luke lived here. The other twin was, you will live among royalty and you'll be a princess. You go to the dirt farm.
Can you bury my lightsaber with what's his face?
Yeah, Bail Organa or Jimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, Jimmy Schmidt.
Jimmy Smits. Yeah,
Can you bury my lightsaber with him, please?
Ain't no place to bury it anymore.
Yeah, that would have been a great part where he goes, you should probably bury that lightsaber back in Alderaan. Wait, that's gone. And he's like, but they live on two different planets. Like, wait, so you separated them at birth and you put this one on the dirt farm?
Yeah.
That
With
Anakin had a
with blood relatives.
Yeah, and with blood relatives, you didn't change the last name, and he goes like, wait, Anakin used to live here?
And also, by the way, there's an old lady carrying a space camel walking at you going, what's your last name? So I know exactly what you're burying here.
Who are you?
Yeah, like, they didn't. Yeah, it just would have been great if they just go, and now we're going to pull the entire thread.
Yeah, I want there to be a post-credit scene where it just the old lady's digging up the lightsaber.
It's the Simon Pegg. That's a different planet. Whatever. It's deserts.
Yeah, we've had 3 movies, 3 desert planets. It's fine.
The Palpatine thing is a shame that it couldn't have been seeded earlier.
Yes.
Because the way it's done feels like they're like, shit, we need something. Ryan Johnson didn't tell anybody. Somehow he managed to go through 3 years worth of production and releasing a movie, and we are just as surprised on opening day that he killed Snoke as everyone else. So we need a villain. And so, like, it does kind of, in my opinion, diminish what Vader sacrificed. To do it. And then also his plan is convoluted. Like, his plan appears to be use Kylo Ren to lure Rey to him, because if you have Sith blood in you, you can pass Sith lineage into the next generations or whatever, which is a new rule, right?
Yeah. He also probably shouldn't explain that to her when he's like, strike me down and I will go inside your body. She's like, he should probably just be like,
he's like, please no, if you kill me, my whole plan ends.
It was kind of a weird plot thread, because like when I was a kid, I read these Star Wars comics called Dark Empire.
Oh, it's good
where
stuff.
it's like Palpatine has a bunch of clones and his spirit goes into them, and then he turns into sexy Palpatine.
Ooh.
Oh, I remember seeing this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like,
Palpatine.
This is kind of like that. It's such a weird thing to be like.
But the execution of it, again, like everything in this movie, is kind of unearned and so accelerated that he explains that to her, and then she's like, well, then no. And he's like, ooh. And so he's like, well, that's fine. He goes, that's fine. I'll just suck it out of you. I'll just suck your energy out. And oh, look, this is even better. Now I'm not dead, and I'm stronger than ever. And I'm like, that should have been I feel like that should have been your plan, right?
He's figuring it out along with the rest of us, which is great.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, Palpatine doesn't know.
But when he's supposed to be pulling all the strings, you're like, he hadn't considered the option that he could just drain them out of their stuff.
It does the thing too, where it's like, it's cool when you see it, and they're like, by the way, the Star Destroyer has like a Death Star level laser on it.
They all didn't need those.
Yeah, and then it's like, whoa, you had this the whole time? You don't need a whole Death Star?
He's like, also now, guess what? all Star Destroyers have Death Star lasers on them, and there's a billion. What are you going to do?
It's like constant escalation.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter at a certain point.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about one of my biggest beefs with the movie was something they did set up and had a through line for all 3 movies of Kylo Ren. And he finally decides to just drop the dark side after his mom says his name, he hallucinates his father, and the girl that he's stalking stabs him and then heals him. And then he just kind of drops the bad guy shtick. I don't think that was paid off. That's something that we had for whatever, 6 hours of movies, and then all of a sudden he just drops his bad guy thing. And I just think that was a weak payoff to maybe the biggest story or the second biggest story of the whole series.
The funnier part is when he goes, they recreate the scene from Force Awakens, which I liked, but then he goes, I'm going to do what he should have done, or he's like, I'm going to throw my lightsaber, and he's like, I'm coming for you, Rey, and he goes, shit, I need a lightsaber.
Yeah. Turns out I'm really bad at fighting without a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows up to the Knights around. They start just beating the shit.
And he's like, first push, ow! Like, come here, nerd.
Yeah, I
Well,
guess
good
like
thing his girlfriend brought an extra one. Just someone told her that she
Yeah.
needed to bring 2.
Yeah. But then they do the funny part where it is a magic trick where he goes, ta-da! And I was like, what? It sounds like we're shitting on the movie, and it's like I'm having
We
fun
are.
talking about it.
Yeah.
But like, when I walked out of Last Jedi, I remember being like, I didn't like that. I'm like, something felt off. I walked out of this movie, and I was like, I feel good about it. I'm texting people and be like, hey, I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
I think
Yeah.
it's a great movie.
Well,
with
there's
the beef though. Oh, you say something?
I would say there's a couple things that this has over The Last Jedi, just very briefly, is that it actually focuses on the characters you know.
Yeah.
As
it has
opposed
them
to,
together the whole time.
and it puts them together and
Yeah.
it puts them through shit.
They go on the same adventure
Which has
together.
a very frustrating part where I think Poe goes, I think in this movie goes, hey, Rey, nice to meet you. We finally get to meet. Oh, no. They met at the end of The Last Jedi where he goes, I'm Poe. I'm Rey. I'm like, they haven't met yet. That's frustrating.
There's a moment where Finn comes to the base or whatever after going on some mission or whatever, and then Rose is there, and she's like, hi, and he goes like,
You have to
Yeah,
stay.
like Hook comes on screen and pulls her off.
yeah,
you stay here this time.
he goes, hello, and then
Yeah, he pats her on the shoulder. And I was like, oh.
I think even at the end, he's like, oh, there's Rose. Nah.
I think
He's
that
like,
was,
she's like, I'll save you. He's like, I'd rather be dead.
I really think that was JJ ripping on Ryan Johnson.
I think
there were
it's
a few
just him-
times in this movie I feel like he
Yeah.
was directly talking to him.
It's him focusing on the characters of the movie.
Yeah. Also, I don't think he's that petty.
No.
These are people who are probably respect each other, and he probably goes, well, we have to kind of undo this weird part, because even in Last Jedi when she goes, Finn, we have to fight for something. Kiss. And he's like, even his face like, what just happened? Were we in love? Was that
Yeah.
a plot point? I forget.
The Kylo redemption things felt really unearned. It felt no
it
different
was
than
weak.
any of the other scenarios that he's been in before.
Which probably
but-
comes with the fact that they were missing a movie worth of where that would go.
It reminded me of in Spectre, when James Bond is in the torture chair, and then he's about to die until Leia Seydoux leans in and she goes, I love you. And then he comes back to life, and I was like, that doesn't seem very James Bond. She should lean in and go like I'll blow you. And then he goes, and then he pops out. That's what they should have done in this movie.
Where she's like, I have a bottle of
Where
scotch.
instead of her going like, I would have taken your hand she says like, I would have taken Ben's hand or something, not Kylo's hand, indicating that this person she's never met before is more appealing than you. But I think she should have said, if you were a nicer guy, we would have done anal. And then it hard cuts to him throwing. You don't even need Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
It just hard cuts to him throwing his lightsaber and then running to his ship. And I was like, oh yeah, that would have played more.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's a shame because they would kind of seed his conflict into the movies. They talk about like Snoke brought up in Last Jedi, like you're killing your dad is like fucking with your mind and stuff, and it's still bothering you. But they keep having him like cement his evilness after that, and then they come back to him. It's like, oh, you're still struggling. I bet you are. But it's a shame because I think Kylo Ren's been one of the more interesting Star Wars villains that we've had.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and probably one of the best parts of this new trilogy,
And
honestly.
Adam Driver's great.
Yeah.
Again, the acting in this movie is pretty incredible, especially when you think that they must have walked into a scene and been like, I don't know where this fits in with anything.
But they're like, but you're paying me millions of dollars. I'm a good actor. I'm probably
Yeah.
going to get an Oscar. So, I mean, he's already Oscar nominated, I think. It's like, and then also him with Oscar Isaac. Daisy Ridley's probably the weakest, but she's also just sort of a blank slate.
She's designed as a cipher.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
I think she did a good job in this movie.
I think John Boyega does a great job. Like everyone's acting well, but yeah, like you said, the stuff they're handing them is like
Not good.
Well, it's probably not the best,
Yeah.
but like I said, it sounds like we're being really mean to the movie, but I'm critical of it because I think I liked it.
I'll just say this. I think I would be maybe a little less frustrated if we weren't, and this is inside baseball or whatever, so it's okay if none of this matters to anyone listening. But like, visual effects studios are going out of business, and no offense, but they made this movie. Like, the script doesn't make this movie. Like, they made this movie. And so when we're in a situation where people are getting multi-million-dollar paychecks for the one thing that they contributed, and then they can't even keep the doors open on a visual effects studio that is the reason this is going to probably get any positive reviews, is kind of a shame.
I wanted to talk about Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Like using her old footage.
Not Carrie Russell.
Her eyes and her strands of hair.
They're there. They're in the movie. He's like, listen, I know I did Felicity.
I thought they did a good job of what they had. I think
I want to know what the hell that conversation looked like.
Yeah.
Where they're finishing episode 7 and he goes, I got some ideas. It's like, where was that supposed to go? And he's like, in case you die. Let's just shoot these things.
Well, you go ahead, Jacob. But
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. I just wanted to bring it up as a conversation.
Some of it did feel like leftover footage.
Yeah, people would say all the information after.
We know how we have to. Yeah, we know how we have to get to the end of this conversation. We don't really have her saying any of those things, but she needs to be involved. So like Rey will walk up and being like, I think I have to go on this adventure, and Leia will go, no. Like it's like hard cuts right before she says Poe. Yeah. No.
Like,
and then Rey goes, I'm sorry to disappoint you. This is just something I need to do. And then it'll just cut back to like an idle shot of her kind of looking like she's accepting it.
There was the
and
weird part where she was smoking going, so JJ, I'm doing this. She's like, let me tell you something about Bob Hope. He's a creep. And you're like, why is that in the movie?
They have
it's
like
so weird.
It's like, okay, we have the shot of her saying, always trust your droids or whatever. It's like, okay, we need to have BB-8 roll in and do something goofy.
Well, that being said, we mentioned it earlier, but the crawl in this does a lot of stuff. They could have absolutely just done Leia died, the dead speak, except for Leia. She's dead though too.
Palpatine's back, Leia's gone.
And it probably would have fit in, but would have felt way worse.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that they found a way to make her pay off in some ways in this movie.
And I kind of liked the passing of her legacy to Poe, a younger actor who can be around for 3 or 4 more movies.
Well, I mean, I think these are done.
Yeah, these people are done.
I think they're ready to go. Let's just light a match and go.
I think they've all said they were done.
Yeah, I think there's like the Skywalker stuff which is they'll just call it. They go episode 1 through 9. There are 9 movies about Skywalkers, and now we're gonna.
I
do something
can
else.
see a world where we get a Rey animated show on Disney Plus where she's got her yellow lightsaber and it's not voiced by Daisy Ridley.
I mean, I could see a world where they make more movies with Daisy Ridley as Rey and Poe and Finn.
I don't know.
Maybe she would voice them. I think she did the voices for herself in like Battlefront and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think all the actors
I was
did.
giving her an out, but
You're free to go. Yeah, you don't have to do this
EA
anymore.
needs you still.
So, what's up with the title, The Rise of Skywalker?
So when it was all over, I kind of wish they had swapped the titles. Because I feel like Rise of Skywalker makes more sense for the second movie.
this is like Planet of the Apes all over again.
Yeah. Last Jedi kind of makes sense because she is more or less the Last Jedi and there was no broom kid. So either she's going to go train Jedi or it's all done. Because they put it in the movie where it's like all the Jedi are in you now. Like they do the Mufasa thing where she looks up at the sky. And then, which was a cool... That was a cool way of doing a bunch of cameos just through voices.
Hey, I have one question about that.
Yeah.
When she's hearing all those voices, she hears somebody say, "Bring balance to the Force," just like I did.
Yeah, it's Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen,
That was him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's bragging about how he brought balance to the Force.
Yeah. He's like,
Asshole. No, he didn't.
I only wish there was a similar scene where Palpatine looks up and Darth Maul's like, what? I got chopped in half. What do you want from me? You were a bad boss. You're a terrible manager.
So is the title talking about Rey because she claims the Skywalker name in the end, or is it talking about Ben Solo?
I think both. I
Leia
don't know.
as well?
There's a lot of... Yeah, the fact that she goes, what's your last name? She goes, Skywalker. And they're like... it would have been cool if that old lady with the camera pulls a gun out.
she goes, nah, it's Palpatine, I bet.
Just kidding. Or she would
no, yeah, I think
Walker.
swapping those titles makes 100 so much sense.
Yeah.
I feel like they were trying to go with some kind of like synergy with the other third movie titles.
Right.
Like
Revenge of, Rise of, Return.
Yeah, I think that's the only
Rise.
thing they're going for.
But I think that kind of shows, again, the thought that has maybe gone into the plotting of these movies.
It's like, well, we can't change what's been done.
They're more concerned with the brand imagery, which, this movie also is. We remember when you were kids and you'd see a movie and then you'd buy toys and you're like, that's strange. I don't remember there being a character that had wheels for legs, but I'm going to buy the toy because I really like that movie. This movie is the toys.
Yeah.
All of the toys are in it. They're like, let's introduce another bot. Does he have any value or information to share? No.
Is he obnoxious?
I guess they got some like info out of where to go from his head or whatever.
Yeah.
He did feel like mostly a toy.
It was MacGuffin the movie.
Yeah.
It really was.
Everything was like, you're a MacGuffin. You're a MacGuffin. There was like the little swords of MacGuffin.
I thought the whole plot with the Sith loyalist that might have dropped Rey off on her planet that also went to this other desert planet that had the megaphone robot was very confusing.
I believe I was in the bathroom at that point, so I look forward to seeing it again.
They never explained any of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I always like to when they stumble upon a scene, they go, those are his bones. That's always
Well,
fun.
the best thing about that, I think the implication is that a snake ate him
Yeah.
1,000 years ago or whatever.
All right.
But it's funny. It was funny because they're like, "We'll never get out of here," and then the snake moves 6 inches, and
There's
then
a hole.
sand falls away, and it's a hole with a red neon sign that says "exit." And you're like, "Oh, there it is. We're right there. We just got there."
There was something like super like ancient tropey about Rey fighting like a dragon that I thought was kind of cool, and using her powers of compassion instead of her sword to kill it. I don't know. There's something there that I like.
The lion with a thorn, and it's it's fine.
Using the Force to heal somebody.
They did do that. They introduced these new sort of like world building stuff, I guess, like because we haven't really seen any new Force powers since. I mean, did they ever do anything new in Episode 2 or 3? Like they jump high.
Yoda can fly.
Yeah,
Yoda never really flew.
Yoda can be stupid, do a bunch of flips.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like it seems to be that
I don't think so. They just
go.
lightning
It
and
goes.
stuff.
There's like we have found a way, and they're like to like live on. We're like you'll be blue.
Yeah.
And also you speak in riddles, but it's cool. Like you'll live on.
Oh, seeing all this footage makes me want to go watch this movie again, though. All this
I was. We're about to go see it. Like, so we have one more day before we go see it. And I told Jess, I'm like, hey, maybe we watch Revenge of the Sith before we go, just because I think it might have some stuff. I don't know. I do kind of want to check it out again, but anyway, I don't know. Yeah.
Was there anything else that I was trying to think of? That weird Wedge cameo.
I thought it was Anthony Daniels out of his suit.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why everyone was
They do kind
cheering.
of look similar. They're all old men.
Yeah, old white guy. And I was like, oh, they finally put Anthony Daniels in without, even though he's probably been in it before with his out of his suit. I just didn't notice it.
Palpatine needs to stop firing lightning.
Yeah.
It's never helped them.
It only backfires.
Yeah.
It's 3 times now.
Yeah.
It's fucked him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe buy a 9mm.
I do like Ian McDiarmid's performance is always
He's
fun
great.
because he always just hams it up as Palpatine.
He looked like he was having fun.
I mean, I thought it makes sense for him to come back at the end. Kind of brings the whole trilogy of trilogies full circle.
Yeah.
I
Even
think-
though they didn't explain it
I think
at
it
all.
will be nice to move on and not have like, 'cause we're watching stuff for Rogue One right now, but I'm thinking of like Mandalorian where like the stakes aren't so high.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan show.
Yeah, where
The
things
universe
aren't.
doesn't have to end.
Yeah, not everything has to be about a planet blowing up. Like we can, I don't know, like. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we get a little smaller with the next one, and we go from there instead of having the stakes have to be everything.
Yeah. Even if like Ryan Johnson ends up making those 3 movies, like it's like at least he's doing 3 of them instead of
need-
him doing one in the middle.
We need one person, and we need at least 2 napkins to write out. The plot.
Yeah. I hope like lessons were learned. I mean, if
I don't
it makes
think
a
so.
shitload of money,
I
then
think
it's
make
not
$1
gonna
billion.
matter.
I
Yeah.
don't think anyone's gonna learn anything.
That was the thought with the prequels. Are like, well, look, they learn their lessons, and they showed that first trailer. Remember, and like the camera's moving, and like you see stormtroopers, and there's lighting, and I was like, whoa, it looks real. They're actually doing it. They learned their lessons, and then now we have a whole new set of problems that we're dealing with of just like story and plot and all these other.
I
fun things.
just watched Revenge of the Sith, and there's a scene that's hangar where R2's making a bunch of noise, and 2 battle droids look over, and then they turn back and start doing other stuff. But then that happens again, and what they did was reverse the shot of the droids looking over. So it was just mirrored them looking this way, but everything's backwards.
Woof.
Like, oh man.
They did that with they did that with episode 1. Remember, he's like, "There's always a bigger fish," and then they're like, "Oh no, it's happening again. There's always a bigger fish." It's like they just did it twice.
They do it like because I just watched Return of the Jedi as well. Like they do it with Boba Fett too because he's got that goofy antenna. So they constantly just mirror shot. They just switch the shot. They just flip it horizontally.
It's like the sand people going. All they had was him doing this, like to about here, and they had to go.
It looks like those like Instagram boomerang things when he's going
I guess where the original trilogies were like a testament to editing, the new movies are like a testament to visual effects because ILM is the bee's knees and they're killing it. And I hope they all have jobs for many years to come and they keep getting paid a lot of. I hope they get paid a lot I money and they get free trips to Disneyland.
Well, the prequel's a testament too.
All right. Well, we got a long podcast here.
Sorry.
I think people will enjoy it. Is there anything that y'all forgot to bring up or
get some popcorn for this movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I will.
Pee before the movie.
It's a spectacle. I wish that we could figure out a world where more movies could just be like Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Be like, we just want to
quality.
be a spectacle, so we're not going to throw in a bunch of other. We're not going to bog you down with all this exposition and stuff because I think the exposition is where this movie starts to drag.
Yeah. Well, they also they do one of those where they go on an adventure to get a thing, to get a thing, to get a thing, to get to another thing. But we would have ended up there anyway because it was the villain's plan.
Yeah.
So it seemed pointless.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, had a good time. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it again.
Yeah, me too.
I've been left with a better taste in my mouth than I was with The Last Jedi, but I do understand these are funny little popcorn flicks, and you probably shouldn't take them as seriously as we thought we should have when we were kids.
Oh, I know what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to talk about Hux.
Oh yeah.
Like they're like, kid, like there's a spy in the first order. I'm like, oh man, new character maybe. And then he's like, I'm the spy.
Oh yeah. Well, I like the introduction of the new
general.
They basically demoted Hux,
Yeah.
and I like that he like force shushes him, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
when
it's
Kylo
like
Ren's he's like.
Richard Grant, that's the actor.
Yeah.
The
It's
new
like,
general?
Yeah, Allegiant General Pride. That's like a cool ass.
Yeah,
title.
and he's I like him because he's like, yeah, fuck Hux. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm evil, I look evil, I talk evil,
Yeah.
I'm old school. And then Hux goes, I was shot, they took it away. And he goes, he's the spy.
Well,
Not buying that shit.
Dan mentioned Disney being like you have to put all your toys back in the toy box when you're done with. And I imagine at some point they were going through it and they were like, oh, what about Hux? And they were like, who? Which is like, got it, okay.
Which is a shame. Rewatching Force Awakens, his big Nazi speech.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, he can act. He's a good actor.
It's
And he-
like that scene made me never believe that he would be a spy just because he hates Kylo Ren so much.
Yeah.
He wants to mess with his plan.
It was a lighthearted thing that didn't really make sense for his character.
Ugh.
Maybe would have been better if he just kind of wrote him off. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Well, it
but-
is the big, I don't understand the politics of the world. That we got through 3 movies and I still don't understand because Force Awakens kind of painted them all as this fringe extremist group that got their hands on a dangerous weapon and now they're a serious threat to, okay, they do actually police, like they have straight up stormtroopers knocking on people's doors and taking taxes and stuff from planets and stuff.
It was a criticism that I agree with The Force Awakens, where it's like I never thought I wanted politics in Star Wars after the prequels, because the prequels had a lot of politics. You're like, man, they got to get away from this stuff.
war.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like,
And then there's a scene of them literally blowing up the politics.
yeah, and then they're like, wait, so what does this world look like now? I'm really confused. Like I'm kind of curious what the inner world. And they're like, no. It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Now it's just cowboys and Indians. They're just fighting each other in space, and we even bring that up, and we go, yeah, we're just.
But then they
nothing
mention
matters.
blockades and all kinds of stuff that are politics, and so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
It's
I hope they answered it in the next one.
you know what? I'm glad I saw it. I was happy you guys were there. I'm happy it's over.
Yeah. Mandalorian episode 7's out and it's really good.
Oh, I'm fantastic. You all right? Yeah, I guess even if you want to escape it, you can't.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Well, I guess since we've gone so long, does anyone have any thoughts of where they go after this? Like, what does Disney do with Star
I
Wars
think
now?
it'll be a while before we see another movie.
Yeah. You think they're going to
They'll just
dabble
go
in TV?
Disney Plus for a while.
I think you get away from everything that's been established.
Starting a whole new giant 9 trilogy?
I think you go Old Republic with it style, meaning you go to your own timeline. You get away. You don't have someone turn and go, "What's your name?" He goes, "Sky Teen," or
maybe stop making trilogies.
Yeah.
So like there doesn't have to be like a beginning one, a middle one, and an end one. Just like start just like Avengers-ing it or something.
Avengers
Like you
kinda has
said,
to be in the middle.
lower
Yeah.
the stakes. You know, the
think-
planet doesn't have to explode.
I think when you first introduce it, and maybe you don't introduce a character and go, well, this is our Luke. You go, no. Let's just come up with a new character concept entirely, and because it is an interesting world to play in. It's not quite fantasy. It's not quite sci-fi. It's somewhere in between. It's Star Wars.
Yes,
Yeah.
both.
It's a cool sandbox to play in. It's just I think you need to give people creative freedom to do some cool stuff with it, but then also introduce the rules of like these are the things you can and can't do. Don't fall back on the nostalgia.
Yeah, Mandalorian's a step in that direction.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
All right, right on.
Okay, sorry.
Star
Hey,
Wars.
Hey, do apologize.
Spoilers end.
Hey Disney, if you're
Spoilers
listening,
over.
my advice is not for. They don't need me. They don't care. Looking forward to Jedi Fallen Order Part 2, which apparently they're working on. So
Yeah,
Right on.
more Star Wars.
let's put it in.
We'll get to my veins. So that is all the time we have this week. No time to talk about the Turner and Hooch reboot. Maybe we get to that one next week. But thanks for coming around. Thank you guys for going to Star Wars with me. Thanks, Adam, for hooking that up, however you did that. Your magic force ways.
I
Don't
won't
forget to
explain
thank
how
me.
I did it, but imagine
to thank me
more
for
of a
going to
zipper
Frozen.
going down and me on my knees.
Force suck.
But you guys are worth it.
Frozen
Thanks
was
again, man.
worth it.
It was really it was awesome, and I think child me would have freaked out knowing he could go see a Star Wars movie a little early.
Pretty cool.
Wonderful movie. I think go see it. Maybe in the comments tell us what you liked about this movie. I know people can rip it apart, but let us know your favorite parts of the movie, and we'll be back next week. See you around.
Mike.
No. He no look. He no look. He no vote.
He's too pretty
Me no.
for
I
Elton.
think he moved me watching that movie. His performance was moving.
No, he's great. But Oscar voters, they go,
No. Elton, look. Darren, look. No, look. No vote.
For cavemen in the Academy?
That's how they vote.
Is this person guarding